Well, I mean, if you look at what politics is doing right now, they've even managed to piss off Elmo, right? And I mean,
Elmo.
Elmo, the furry little dude.
I remember Elmo. I haven't heard about this.
Well, I'll tell you how. Mitt Romney said, I don't remember where he said it though, but he said that he was gonna, if he came into office, he was going to be cutting funding to PBS. So that's
I did
Sesame
hear about
Street
this,
and all the little kid shows, and
which is great because I don't know, all those free-thinking liberals at Sesame Street.
well, I mean, okay, well, I mean, even on a personal note, as a little kid, I learned much of my English from watching Sesame Street and Barney and all these
Yeah.
kind of things, right? So I mean, I think my English is pretty good, pretty suave, yeah.
Pretty solid.
But Romney's saying that he's going to be cutting all this funding from PBS, and it makes you wonder, where is that money going to go?
Yeah, you could always associate that with their budgets and their plans and where they pool money in this direction and that direction. But what was the plan there? Why are they cutting PBS? And why would they make that, like, was that a behind-the-scenes thing, or was that, like, exposed?
I would speculate, looking at the general direction the States has been headed towards, that it's probably for war. I mean, if you look at the war budget...
Wait. They canceled Sesame Street so they could go to war.
Elmo's pissed.
Sesame Street is going to war.
Well, I mean, let's think about this,
The count, the body count.
Well, politically, war is the biggest thing that they've always... It's their stick, it's what they've used to go out there and
well,
say...
everybody knows that.
Things to happen.
It's even in the media. Team America, World Police. Oh. Wow, what a statement that was. Besides the 8-minute gratuitous puppet sex scene, I was totally pro with that movie.
Who doesn't like puppet sex? This guy.
It's alright. I don't know, is this a pro puppet sex crowd? Don't answer that.
No comment.
I want to get more into why it's important that it's recognized that voting and not voting. The idea is behind it. You vote for a politician you believe in, or represents the ideals that you believe in. But when fundamentally you know that they don't have to stick to that, they're not held accountable for changing their opinion at the last minute, they can do whatever they want to manipulate your opinion to try and gain popularity through all these slander campaigns and tactics. Politics shouldn't be about tactics. It should be about what you believe in, what you want to get out there. Shouldn't that be the end game of politics?
Well, to benefit humanity.
To benefit humanity?
Even benefit the nation that you're in, right?
And shouldn't there be a certain reasonable amount of compromise between the two parties? You're trying to lead America. You're not trying to win America. This isn't a game. This isn't phone in your votes now. It's
Well, you also notice that what they're doing is they're fear-mongering, right? They use the ideal behind...
But they're used to that. Fox News, Fox News, Fox News.
Fox News. They scare the shit out of you, so you think that there's a problem. Then they say, well, actually, we have a solution for you, too, right?
Yeah.
So they're soliciting you...
Come here, everything's okay.
Their opinion, right? And even further than that, they go and demonize people who won't vote. They demonize any group which could say anything to oppose them. I mean, if you watch Fox News...
That's your own problem.
But I mean,
maybe we'll do a whole episode on
Fox News. But I mean, if you're watching Fox News, you'll even notice that they'll pick some random guy, some
expert,
let's say on atheism or Islamic faith or whatnot, and they'll make
what
them
a misrepresentation of atheism that goofball was.
They'll anger them, they'll piss them off,
antagonize them.
To the point where they're going to say things that don't represent the entire community. But
assuming that the whole thing wasn't scripted from the get-go.
And then what does Fox News do? They're like, well, look at this retard, and then,
And speaking of scripted from the get-go, politics right now is a joke. And I don't vote for a system that I don't place faith in. I will not personally vote for the lesser of two evils. And that doesn't mean that I'm not doing anything. And it doesn't mean that my opinion doesn't mean anything, or I don't carry myself with any weight in that regard. Is that my vote is to not vote for a system that I don't believe in. And if there's enough people that make that impression, or make it known, that impression, that there's going to have to be some changes for this system to work in the long game. Democracy works great. Democracy got us out of tyranny. It put us all together. It made the United States one of the most technologically advanced cultures on the planet. It pushed us right to the forefront of going into space. International Space Station, they landed on Mars. They're doing amazing, amazing things. And they're still... Innovation-wise, it's amazing what they can accomplish. But there's so much holding them back. because of their tactics right now.
Well,
That there's a different end game going on right now.
Well, if we pushed it, towards that direction a little bit more, we could even suggest here now, what's one thing that now is demonized to the extent of, potential detention, infinite detention?
Lack of transparency.
Camps. So transparency, and there's another thing here. You mentioned the idea that democracy got us these things. There's another factor.
It did.
There's another factor to this too. Revolution, right?
It got us democracy.
It got us everything we needed. So what's the one thing now which is demonized to the point of, well, if you go out and protest, we're going to get riot squad out there, you're going to go into FEMA camps. We all know they've been set up. And
it's
militaries
not like
love to detain you indefinitely. They don't.
They made a big point with demonization of transparency with the whole Julian Assange thing and them trying to slander them as much as possible. And there was a lot of bad stuff about that guy out there that was really made up and really fabricated. And he was a very strong man to have that all land on his shoulders.
I think there was the genetic tested matchup, right? I mean,
that was a pretty much a big scam to get him extradited to the United States.
Mm-hmm.
And then there's an even braver soul who is still currently incarcerated with no charges, Bradley Manning, who is trying to expose, all those files, which I've seen some of it with the helicopter gunship gunning down innocent civilians. That's not fun, and no one was held accountable. So
he's the one who released the video with the AC-130 as well, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, so I mean, if anybody who hasn't seen them, they're probably on YouTube. If we can find them, we'll put a little annotation here. But basically, what's happening in these videos is military professionals are getting permission to open fire on people who they claim have AK-47s and whatnot, but they actually don't.
I'm pretty sure the one guy was a shopkeeper with a broom, and they mistook him for an enemy with an RPG. That's a big mix-up.
And you just wonder, once again, have these people just been scared so much and put into a position where they feel they need to do something, where when someone tells them, well, we got to kill them because they're terrorists, they turn that switch off and they just, shoot at innocent civilians, I mean, you should think, even the troops, even our troops have to take this personally. They have to take it down to the, the source of all this, which is themselves. If you're being given orders to do something which doesn't agree with who you are, your soul doesn't agree with what you're doing,
there's a few different facets of this that tie right back into what we were talking about, for the sense of ignorance that's imposed on their country, which is so widespread. I think ignorance is the biggest problem in America right now.
Bigger than obesity.
Bigger than obesity. Ignorance is such a problem because people are willing to form opinions based on these trivial things or word of mouth. And then they take those opinions and spout them as their own, and then propagate this misinformation, which is so terrible. Everybody is confused. There's no directive, and you can't count on the media outlets all the time. Because how many pieces of media outlets are corrupt or biased?
Most of them are even owned. I mean, if you think about...
True, you follow up.
We talk about Mitt Romney's official platform, Fox News.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Romney's campaign headquarters. That there's a big problem with ignorance being directly tied into there, because if you're not getting all the answers, you can't have an intelligent discussion. And if there's no transparency, you're not getting all the information. And I understand a certain amount of negotiable transparency within the government so they can operate throughout the world and fight the necessary evils that are imposing themselves against the United States of America. But there is a certain amount of transparency that has to be involved with the government in order for people to have a working knowledge of the way the government works. How many people actually know exactly how a government works? Down to the people.
Very few people.
Very, very, very few people, unless you're directly involved in politics.
I think they want it that way too, right? I mean...
Well, the less people involved, the less meddling there is involved, and that lets them have their way. And then when you get opinionated people in there, they come off as wrong because they can't compete with the salesman.
There it is. So they want you to work your ass off, get up early in the morning, do a full-time shift, have enough money to barely survive, barely afford a house, owe the banks literally your house and probably your life with life insurance and all that, owe them everything so you can't think.
They don't want smart, wealthy citizens because that's a problem. Because then they're comfortable in their lives and they don't oh, wait a second, I can start paying attention to what are you doing? Make that stop!
Well, I mean, the idea of revolution and revolt, they've taken it so that it's been so impossible Not to mention, you look at GMO foods and fluoridation. We're not going to get into that, but fluoridation of water, they're dumbing the people down. It makes it so much easier to manipulate and control them. Now, the one thing the people have forgotten is the fact that they have the right to rise up. They have the right to challenge democracy. Now, the U.S. was founded as a republic.
Yes.
So the people have this right. This is inherent to what we have. And if these people do not realize that they have the right, they're never going to take action to prevent these evils from continuing to come into power. Right?
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I would like to mention briefly, Poland. Poland, and after Poland's problems, and even Iceland too. Iceland had an issue where the people didn't agree with the government at all. It got to the point, and see, people don't hear about this, but in Iceland, there was an entire reform because nobody voted. Because nobody voted.
No faith.
No faith at all. But what happened here is the people overthrew the government. So what happened here? Officials, bankers, and people in power that were corrupt all got thrown in jail. New people were put into position. Their rules were pretty simple, where these people had never had experience with politics before. These were people that wanted to make a change, and not people that were in power to profit.
People that had intellect and aptitude.
Exactly. So really, I think ultimately what we've kind of talked about is the fact that politics now is more about making a sale. Politics now is more about dumbing the masses down so they'll listen to whatever you say, fear-mongering to get their point across, but what do they want? It's not the resources, clearly. It's not even just the money. They want power.
We can question less their motives and really just go by their actions and say the current system doesn't work because of the way that they're treating it. They've turned the whole thing into a snake oil sale, and that's not going to work. Democracy saved us from tyranny, and we need a next step so that we can move forward from democracy and save ourselves from this before we become a merchant-based society.
Or corporations pretty much become their own governments, right?
Private security, and then...
And it's already moving toward the direction,
and then all of a sudden their country's over!
So we're going to leave you guys with that, and I think we brought up a lot of good points. But, if you don't agree, let us know. Tell us down in the comments.
Go on a rant. Just go nuts.
And if you choose to make
nothing better to do.
We're just sitting here. We just drink tea all the
time.
time.
We're waiting for you to comment.
Now, here's the thing. If you're going to make a video response, and I think we talked about this. If you're going to make a video response, you better be drinking a cup of tea, otherwise we're not going to be able to take you seriously.
I can't take you seriously if you're not.
So
beer's acceptable,
for
but mostly
sake,
only on Fridays.
Drink tea. And make a video response if you're inclined. And, if you guys liked what we talked about, we tend to do this once a week at least.
Yeah, we should be regularly posting about once a week.
So be sure to, subscribe. The button should be right up there.
Yes, and over your head.
Yeah, it's around here somewhere.
Yeah.
And subscribe, and, hopefully you guys enjoyed it. And if not, be sure to let us know. And we respect your need to troll and flame.
That's true.
That we do. Alrighty, have yourself a good one.